Longhorn Nation, Sooner fans, welcome to the 29th episode of the Bevo Podcast, the only podcast exclusively dedicated to covering the greatest rivalry in college football, the University of Texas and the University of Oklahoma. Kevin, it's been a minute, but we finally get a week with 2 wins, one for Oklahoma, one for Texas, and a plethora of amazing games to talk about on this recap episode. Quickly, what was your biggest takeaway from week 7 college football yesterday?
Man, anything is possible when you step out on that football field. I mean, the scenes in Knoxville, Tennessee yesterday remind us all why we love college football so much. It was amazing.
Hey, man, seeing Josh Heupel there, albeit, I don't know, like maybe 250 pounds heavier than he was in college, but seeing Josh Heupel there, that scene reminded me so much of when Oklahoma beat Nebraska, because they had been tormented by Nebraska the entire decade of the 90s. They couldn't beat them. Nebraska was the Alabama, back in the 90s. It had gotten embarrassing. And to see Tennessee finally overcome that and overcome it in a really spectacular way. I mean, last second field goal.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude. You're absolutely right. I love every second of it. I'm so happy for Josh Heupel in Tennessee. They deserve it. I picked them. Number one, I picked them. Number two, they're the only team in orange I root for. But I thought it was fantastic. Across the top 25, Kevin, Michigan remains undefeated against Penn State. Penn State James Franklin it up as we thought they would and allowed Michigan to run for over 400 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, it is 2022. What in the world are you doing letting a team run for 400 yards?
Yeah, like it's like 1975 Oklahoma.
Oh my gosh. TCU, the big win over Oklahoma State in Fort Worth. I was driving back from soccer and I was listening to the Cowboys broadcast, and they were in overtime, and it was a fever pitch for them, right? Because they are just, I mean, it's overtime. They anything can happen. But then TCU gets a first and goal. They stop them on first and goal. On second and goal, the announcer goes, quarterback takes a snap, handoff up the middle, touchdown, game over.
Yeah, that pretty much describes it for Oklahoma State. Listen, they're going to feel pretty upset about this one, right? This one, they had a big lead. It was a 24-13 at halftime. But, man, the fourth quarter, I think they got outscored 14-0.
They had a 17-0 lead in the second quarter for sure.
Okay, yeah.
I listened just a little bit to their post-game show, and they were all on Spencer Sanders, and I'm thinking, I hope Oklahoma fan doesn't sound this stupid when we lose a game, because that's your defense. Your defense has to make stops. When an offense gives you the lead on the road, you have to make stops. They didn't do it. They lost. Good for TCU.
Undefeated still.
The most popular win of the night in my household, and I think a lot of Sooners households, was USC going down to Utah. Dramatic fashion. Cam Rising, the quarterback, having ties to Oklahoma, once committed there to play for Lincoln Riley. And then signed and was with y'all for a year at Texas, right?
Yeah, flipped to Texas, which is one of the most surprising recruiting things ever for Texas fans.
And then transfers to Utah. Has had an up and down year, really. They had some great expectations. He looked bad. He looked bad in that final drive against Florida in the opening week, but I don't care. He looked like a stud on the last drive, picking up a fourth and goal to go to bring the game within a point, and then securing the 2-point conversion. It was fantastic. Side note, Kevin, the Boomer Bevo Pod Twitter handle we've been in action since I think the end of August.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, a couple months.
And for those that don't follow us on Twitter, at Boomer Bevo Pod, give us a follow. I have put out some really nice nuggets of info, and at times gotten no likes, maybe 1 like, 2 likes, and that's fine. I know it's a process. I'm working through it. Apparently, for Sooner Nation, all you have to do is put a picture of Caleb Williams crying, and say that he looks like Lincoln Riley did, explaining why he left for USC, and the entire Sooner Nation will like your tweet.
There you go. That's all it takes, man.
All it takes here. I couldn't believe it. I was so excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at all these likes. And then it dawned on me that this is like the lowest form of Twitter acknowledgement you can get. It's like, oh, you need some likes? USC sucks. Like.
Well, hopefully this will help you guys move on. For your own sake.
They are not out of it. USC is not out of it.
Not at all.
UCLA needs to take care of business. I'm a big Bruins fan. You know this. I've always been a big Bruins fan. So let's go UCLA. Clemson.
Also, real quick, hold on.
Sure.
Before we move off that, Alex Grinch, man, defense really struggled yesterday. The old Speed D.
Are you surprised by this? Does this shock you in some way?
No, but what I'm surprised is you let one guy, a tight end, 16 catches, 234 yards, and a touchdown. Did you ever see
us play Iowa State? Insert Charlie Kolar. Insert Charlie Kolar right there.
Charlie Kolar never in his life had 16 catches for 2.
I think he did. Every year he played OU, he had 16 catches. Yes.
He scored. But 16 catches, 234 yards, and one touchdown to one player.
Yeah, and that guy was a beast. And that's the least surprising stat I've heard this morning because Alex Grinch and his defense suck. So I should tweet that out. I bet if I tweet that out, I get 50 likes.
Just put Speed D with a question mark. Yeah.
Clemson stays undefeated, although I still don't love Clemson. They're in that weak ACC, and they stay undefeated. Ole Miss, a quiet 7-0, the quietest undefeated team left. My brother calls me and tells me that he's watching Game Day, and Lane Kiffin is being interviewed. Did you see this?
I did not.
So Lane Kiffin is being interviewed, and they ask him about the Tennessee-Alabama game. Now, granted, Tennessee fan hates Lane Kiffin. Alabama fan is not far behind in their hate for Lane Kiffin, even though he was like an offensive coordinator and did great for him. And he says, you'd be a fool not to know this game's going on. I don't know who's going to win, but all I'll say is go Vols. And I'm just thinking to myself, Lane Kiffin is the only guy that in 2 words, and only 2 words, control 2 fan bases at the exact same time.
At the same time, yeah.
I mean, Tennessee fan does not want to hear a word from Lane Kiffin ever. They would be happy if they never heard a word from him. And Bama just, I love Lane Kiffin. I hope he keeps winning right now.
Oh yeah, he's great for the sport, man. You got to have guys like that.
Syracuse, still, are they undefeated?
They are.
So, I mean, in the Dean Dome yesterday, my favorite aunt from Kentucky, her Wildcats got a big win against Mississippi State. Mike Leach, they're back in the win column. It's what happens when you get your quarterback back. I don't know, maybe a theme. And then my friend's hot wife who went to Illinois, they got another win, and they'll remain in the top 25. So, Kevin, I don't know. This was just a fantastic weekend of football all around.
Yeah, definitely the best week of the season so far.
Oh, for sure. And we're starting to see a little bit of separation. But all those teams that lost, right? You can't say for a second that USC's out of it, Bama's out of it. I think for certain we can say Penn State's out of it. Like Penn State is out of it, right?
Yeah, you would think so, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you still have Michigan and Ohio State ahead of them. So, yeah, it'll be rough.
Oklahoma State still very firmly in the Big 12 race.
Right.
They were to do some magic. They're still in it. So all the teams that lost, these aren't back-breaking losses for any of them. They lost to good teams, close games. Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to hold anything over these teams if they continue to win. So nobody's out of it. But, man, it was sure fun to see USC, Alabama, and Oklahoma State go down on the same day. It made for just a great Saturday.
It would have been better for you, for Sooner fans, if Texas would have ended up losing Iowa State. Huh?
Dude, I was hoping that was a fumble call.
I knew you were.
I texted you that I thought it was that his knee was on the ground, but yeah, we'll break it down some more. But as soon as I saw the replay, I'm like, no, not targeting.
Yeah.
Let's get that out of the way right now. Not targeting, and it was a fumble. So,
yeah.
if you ever, well, I was going to try to make this transition from fumble to Brown O'Haver, and it just wasn't working. So I'm just going to skip that fancy segue and go right into our ad for Brown O'Haver. Brown O'Haver works for the insured, not the insurance company, to process insurance claims. So if you've had a loss to your home, your business, give Brown O'Haver a call, 405-735-5510. If you're Oklahoma State today and you're feeling bad, that's what it feels like to have your house burned down and lose everything in it. And when that happens, you need somebody to lean on. So you call Brown O'Haver at 405-735-5510. It is Boss's Day today, and Jessica Isom, our Chief Operating Officer, who is amazing and a boss, is an Oklahoma State fan. So she probably feels a little bit like crap today, and that's okay. So if you, Oklahoma State fan, have had a loss and you don't want to talk to obnoxious John or kind Kevin, give Jessica Isom a call, and she will commiserate and then get you paid for your insurance claim. 405-735-5510. Kevin, Texas beats Iowa State. A win that would not have happened last year. It would have been a loss.
Not a chance.
But this is 2022. Take it away.
Well, listen, it was an ugly game, right? There's no way around that. I mean, just give credit to Iowa State, right? I think we all saw what happened in the Cotton Bowl and then saw that Iowa State was 0-3. And then we're all kind of guilty of thinking, oh, well, Texas should win this game easily, cover the 17-point spread. And they didn't, man. And like I said, give Iowa State credit. They like to run the ball. You know them. They like to run the ball, hit some play-action shots. Well, not yesterday. They had a great game plan on how to attack Texas defense, throwing the ball. Texas had two big injuries in the secondary. The corner Ryan Watts got injured, and then safety Jaron Thompson was out for a while. And again, give their coaches credit because they went after their replacements, hit some big plays, converted a crap ton of third downs.
Is that the most yards y'all been thrown on this year? 329. Deckers had 329 on y'all.
The Tech quarterback might have had something close to that. Donovan Smith that day in Lubbock. So, but I give credit to the coaches. I give credit to Bijan and Roshan Johnson, who did a great job running the football and controlling the clock. And the defense for making that stop in the end there. Like you said earlier, that's a game Texas does not win.
Well,
this year. They find a way to screw it up.
And you look at Quinn's stat line, 17-26 for 172 yards, 3 touchdowns. Not the most efficient stat line, but this is the problem when you play Iowa State, is they ugly up the game. Yeah, they don't give you anything deep. They throw those very odd defensive schemes at you, especially in the secondary. It's very difficult to have a prolific passing attack against Iowa State. Subsequently, to Sark's credit, he recognized that and went heavy with Bijan, heavy with Roshan. And it looks like Quinn did what he needed to do to win the game, which again,
no turnovers.
In the past for Texas has not been the case for the last 10 years. Y'all would have figured out a way to lose that game, especially at home, especially after a big win. So I think this is exactly what Texas needs heading into Oklahoma State. Now you get Oklahoma State coming off a heartbreaking loss. Y'all are on a high. Now the questions, and we'll address more in our preview episode. The questions are going to be: can Texas continue to live up to the hype? And this is another check box in the check in the excuse me. This is another check in the yes column. Yes, they can continue to live up to hype, and I think it's a really good win for Texas, even though the scoreboard doesn't indicate it.
Yeah, correct. I completely agree. Again, there was a lot of ugly in there, but it's always good to have things to fix when you come off a win instead of a loss. I'll take a ugly loss over a pretty win. Where we play great offensively, score a ton of points, and still end up losing the game. So,
let me ask you,
and I'm happy about it.
Let me ask you this though: Iowa State is moving the ball, and they're picking up fourth downs. They're just moving it right down the field. Did you think you were going to lose the game? I thought Texas was going to lose that game.
Absolutely. absolutely. First of all, I can't believe Xavier Hutchinson, who was great, by the way, missed that deep shot. That's the first time really all year that I've seen a coverage breakdown like that. He was wide open. There was nobody within, I don't know, 10 yards of him. And for him to, like Robert Griffin said during the broadcast, he for some reason jumped for the ball, didn't need to.
Yeah.
He landed, the ball just popped out. So poor kid, I actually felt bad for him.
But they went right back to him, man.
Yeah, they went right back to him.
They went right back to him. He picked up that fourth down. They're moving the ball. That didn't cost them the game. You know, look, I was rooting for Iowa State. This is no secret. But you have to respect it's really nice when you're watching a team play that is always called soft and always called unable to finish and doesn't always make the big play, for a dude to come out of nowhere, lay a hit on the quarterback, a completely legal hit, knock the ball loose, and win the game. I mean, that just makes you feel good about your football team, that they're willing to put their nose in there and try to make a play versus sitting back and letting a running back, or like letting a quarterback who has no business running on y'all run all over you.
Yeah, I completely agree. Again, it's a play that's kind of reminiscent of the days of, the 2000s, when we had guys like Michael Huff and Michael Griffin who would come up and make plays like that.
Well,
in the safety position and punish a quarterback for running.
To be fair, those were pre-targeting days when dudes could just lay somebody out back in the day. But
you're right about that.
But this guy, he missed the helmet, and I don't know. I thought Texas. I thought they escaped with a win. But at this point in the season, it doesn't matter, man. You get the win and you get the heck out.
And that's what I used to say. I know. Sorry, Sooner fan, but when Lincoln Riley was at OU, you guys went ugly, and to me that was a great thing. You have a game like Kansas last year on the road. I'm like, hey, it's an ugly win, right? But at least you won. You'll take that over a loss. Texas would have lost that game in Lawrence. You know what I mean? I know you want to win better than that, especially last year because there was something weird going on with OU. But to win games like that, my point of view from it, the Texas fan was like, hey, listen, I'll take that ugly win over a loss.
Okay. I hear what you're saying, but let's be clear. When you are consistently a double-digit favorite and oftentimes a 3-score favorite, and you find yourself in a game that you'd have no business being in, you should be up by 21. Your starter should be sitting the bench. I disagree with you. A good team has to put those games away, and they need to put them away early and not deal with that. Texas is not there yet. This is not the same level that Oklahoma was at for the 5 years under Lincoln Riley. Under the 5 years under Lincoln Riley, they were perennially picked to win the Big 12. They were expected to go to the college football playoff, and they were losing really stupid games and playing in very tight games to teams they had no business playing in tight games against. These are two different things. So if Oklahoma this year with 3 losses wins a tight game, absolutely. I'm happy for the tight win, things to work on, etc. I get you. But back when Oklahoma was doing it, no, man. I don't agree with that at all. They looked – don't see, now you got me fired up about it. No wonder people like the Lincoln Riley tweets.
I'll say this, though. Good teams, good programs win games like that, even if you play like crap. Texas they played hard, right? I never thought that they weren't competing at all. They didn't play well. Sometimes even if you play hard, you don't play well, and you get a win in those circumstances for any team, I'll take it.
I think the biggest thing is Sark's commitment to Bijan, though, and Roschon Johnson. Yeah. Like, just committing to the run game and letting those guys get it. I mean, what did Bijan end up having? 165, something like that?
135 on the ground, but then he had 36 yards receiving. Him as a receiver, man. I mean, they had him running seam routes. Did you see that one he ran in kind of a back shoulder throw, took a huge hit and still completed it?
What are his pro prospects looking like right now? Surely he's first round, right?
He'll be a first round pick. Yeah. From what I'm hearing from scouts is they think he'll come in because if you think about it, Texas offensive line has not done a great job of run blocking this year. They've done great in pass protection, but they think when he gets to the NFL that he can be a Pro Bowl guy as a rookie. They think he's that good.
To be able to catch the ball like that too, especially in this state's NFL, it's a good spot to be in. Hey, anyway, Texas gets a good win against Iowa State. Now you've got to face Oklahoma State. We'll talk more about it on the recap, especially because Oklahoma is going to go into a bye week, so we have a full episode to talk. But just real quick, do y'all have a chance against Oklahoma State?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's going to be tough. We've seen this team struggle on the road, right? We've seen them struggle on the road. And Oklahoma State's going to be pissed coming off a loss. But yeah, no, I think there's a chance for Quentin to have a better game. I think he's going to be refocused. And of course, that running game is going to be there.
If Texas wins, they effectively eliminate Oklahoma State from the Big 12. I mean, that's 2 losses, and both of those losses are going to be to Texas and TCU. So Texas and TCU will have the tiebreakers. At this point in the season, I think you effectively eliminate Oklahoma State. So
I don't know about that, right? I mean, you still have TCU, you have Texas with 1 loss so far in the conference, right? They'll have 2, but then who else is after that?
Texas would have to lose 2 more, though. Yeah. Which they could lose 2 more, but Oklahoma State could lose 2 more too. The point is, especially for TCU, that if TCU holds and Texas beats Oklahoma State, TCU might already be in. I mean, it might be really hard for TCU not to be in.
Yeah.
Because TCU is
the way this league is going, man. I just feel like there's a lot that's going to happen. That's going to be crazy.
I love it.
Crazy upset still.
Speaking of craziness, you and I both picked the University of Kansas to upset Oklahoma, at least on the point spread line. It did not happen.
Yeah, Oklahoma. I didn't pick OU to win, though. I do want to say that.
I did not pick OU. I did not pick OU to win, and I'm glad they proved me wrong. I stand by the pick in the sense that I did not see anything from the previous 3 weeks that were making me feel good about it. But Dylan Gabriel is there's a reason he's the starting quarterback at the University of Oklahoma. He looked really, really good yesterday. 29 of 42, 403 passing yards, 9.6 yards per completion, 2 touchdowns. He does get his first interception on the year, but I'm going to give him a pass for that because I thought he played a fantastic game. Levy called the best game he's called all year, and this includes his games against his game against Nebraska. I thought this was a better offensive performance against a much better defense. As I've said all year, Kevin, I have been very firm in the conviction that Eric Gray deserves to be the number 1 guy at OU. I have, from day one, questioned anybody that thought anybody else other than Eric Gray should be the starting running back at OU. And I was proven right today when he rushed for 20 carries, 176 yards, 8.8 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. I told everybody, Kevin, calm down. Eric Gray is the man. You got to let him go to work. Let Eric cook. He's cooked, and he is fantastic, just like I predicted.
You know, we do have receipts, right? I mean, we do. Our listeners can go back to our past episodes and hear your thoughts on Eric Gray.
That doesn't bother me. Okay. That doesn't bother me. I know my truth, Kevin.
Okay.
I know my truth, and my truth is that Eric Gray was an absolute stud. I'll tell you what I also liked about Levy's offensive plan. Again, the Texas game, that'll go down in history as one of the worst offensive and defensive game plans that were ever concocted. Maybe that's because they didn't have a quarterback, whatever. But in this game, it was very clear what they wanted to do. They targeted Marvin Mims 19 times. You know what they said they want to do? We're going to put the ball in the hands of our best player. And then we are going to make the defense focus on him. And the minute they did that, and the minute Kansas rolled any kind of coverage over to Mims or did anything like that, we beat them with Willis. We beat them with Theo Wees. The running backs took care of the game. It was a fantastic game plan offensively. And this is what we've been waiting to see from Jeff Levy. It's what we've been waiting to see from Eric Gray. And it was just a fantastic offensive game plan.
It's funny because we talked about that in the recap of the Red River Shootout last week. And they couldn't scheme anything to get Marvin Mims the ball. I mean, this guy's the best player on the team from an offensive standpoint. You have to get the ball in his hands one way or the other. 1 catch, 4 targets, 1 catch for minus 2 yards. I mean, that's completely unacceptable, right? So it was good to see him. I'm a fan, right? Like, I'm pro player no matter who they play for. So I'm a fan of Marvin Mims. So I like seeing him ball out.
You know who he reminds me of, both as a player, and then I saw an interview with him today, or I guess maybe it was last night. He reminds me a lot of Amari Cooper, just like a real going to work kind of dude, like just a real steady go to work. You know, he's not CeeDee Lamb, right? He's not OBJ. He is a very just kind of a quiet confidence. Yes, I am. Yes, I happen to be the best player on the team, but I don't have to act like it. I can just go ahead and show it. So that was really cool to see. Braden Willis, dude, listen, that guy was making blocks all over the field. He was making big plays. He continues to be the offensive MVP. Anytime you go for over 700 yards, I don't care who you're playing, but when you're playing a top 25 team that only has one loss, that is ginormous. 700 yards after a week where we couldn't complete a forward pass.
Yeah, we had over 200 last week. So, yeah, it's a great bounce back. Bounce back.
Now, defensively, not quite the rosy picture that the offense.
No, not there yet.
Not that the offense gets to portray. Two things were better. Number one, we had turnovers, which and they weren't even like pick sixes or anything like that. First of all, the one from CJ Golden, wow,
fantastic!
What an amazing! That was just a great athletic play. Transfer from Wyoming, really good athletic play. Deshaun White finally gets into the turnover game with getting him an interception. 2 turnovers. I know this is going to sound like the most basic rationale of all time. You just eliminated 2 chances for Kansas to score.
Yeah. If you can't stop them like that, as far as playing your base defense, you gotta make something happen. And so that was positive to see, and especially on the one from CJ Golden, it was just an athletic play. It was just fantastic. We only had 1 sack, but we did have 8 tackles for loss. So we're getting in the backfield. We were a little more disruptive. That was good to see. But good Lord, can we get off? This was a theme with the Texas game too. Can we get off the field on 3rd down? I mean, goodness. 3rd down conversions, they drive you crazy, man. I was going nuts during the Texas game.
On the first drive, we've got them in 3rd and 6, and Jalen Redmond goes offsides, makes it 3rd and 1. They pick it up. They go down to score. The second drive, we've got them 3rd and 13 deep in their own territory. And we're thinking, man, we punt, we get this back, we go up 2 scores. No, they pick up 3rd and 13 with a 26-yard pass and go down and score another touchdown. There wasn't so many glaring 3rd down pickups after that. There might have been some little ones, but nothing that bad. But it was just right off the bat. What's that?
They were 5 of 11 on 3rd down throughout the game. OU, though, on the flip side, going back to that offense, 16 of 21 on 3rd down.
That's what I'm telling you, man.
Yeah, you'll take that all day. 700 yards of offense, 403 yards passing, 298 yards rushing. You will take that all day.
And when Oklahoma wasn't giving up 3rd downs, then they decided to give up big plays in the passing game.
That was a big thing, yeah, and that's what's going to have to be cleaned up somehow throughout the rest of the season. I don't know how it is, but
the secondary, they didn't give up ginormous busts, but they just gave up competitive plays, and they gave up, to allow what is essentially Kansas's backup quarterback. Yes, he's a good player. We established that in the recap. He knows what he's doing. He's a 5-year player. I'm not saying the kid wasn't going to have a good game. He's not a bum, but goodness gracious, do we just have to keep giving up? There were drives in the second half that were like 4-play drives, touchdown, 3-play drives, touchdown.
Yeah. Last year with Texas, their first year under the new staff, it seemed like there were 3 levels playing as just individual units. So you have the D-line, you have the linebackers, and then you have the defensive backs.
Right.
They're almost playing as individual units instead of one cohesive defense. I'm seeing a little bit of that with OU this year. It's not all together yet. It's just completely out of sync from one level to the other. There's just too much space for wide receivers and tight ends to make plays.
Kevin, that's exactly right. It's too much space. When we don't get the pressure on the quarterback relieves the secondary, right? But when we don't get pressure on the quarterback and we put the secondary, so you don't know as an outside observer, you almost don't know whose fault it is on that back end, right? It might not be the back end's fault. It could be the not getting pressure on them, giving them all day to pass. It creates space that otherwise wouldn't be there if the first two levels were doing their job. So I don't know where it's coming from, but there were some big plays in the passing game that need to be cleaned up. Hopefully, all expectations are we have Billy Bowman back for the Iowa State game. This bye week for Oklahoma cannot come at a better time. We're coming off a win. We're back over 500. We remind ourselves that we're not as bad as we think we are. Our offense gets a shot of adrenaline in the arm to say, you guys are actually really good. Listen, you put up 700 yards, you can beat anybody left on the schedule. You can beat anybody left on the schedule. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Now, will we play better defenses? Yeah, we're going to play start with Iowa State in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. We've seen it from Oklahoma. This is an Oklahoma team that fans can live with. We've lived with this for years. Put points on the board and hang on for dear life on the defensive side of the ball. If that gets us through this year, whatever. I just, get us bowl eligible and let's get some respectability back heading into the next year. But you're completely right. The dysfunction on the defensive side, I don't know if it'll be addressed this year. Maybe it's a talent gap. Maybe it's a scheme. Maybe it's guys not picking up the scheme. Whatever the case may be, it's going to continue to be an issue. Any other takeaways from week 7, Kevin?
Man, like I said, it was just an incredible weekend of football. It was just nonstop action, man. And when you're a college football fan, it's what you live for, to have these kind of weekends.
Dude.
And going back to Tennessee, right, and against Alabama, they get up to a 28-7 lead, right, in the second quarter, and then Bama storms back 28-28. And I'm thinking, like, okay, well, they're about to kind of blow it open. For them to stick with it, keep fighting, and pull that game off at the end. Yeah, can't tell you how impressed I was with Josh Heupel and those players from Tennessee.
No.
It was great to watch.
You feel it was a very, like, you got the feeling that it was a very Alabama thing to do, to get down like they did and come back and just break Tennessee's heart.
Yeah.
But you described the play to me on the punt return. I mean, I saw Saban's reaction. I thought he was going to have a coronary on the sidelines. That did not look like Alabama football. You wonder if there's just come on, they have one loss, right? They just lost to a very good team. I'm not picking on Alabama, but is there just a little bit of complacency? Is there just a little bit of that sneaking into the program? It's just interesting to watch because that play has not happened in 12 years at Alabama.
No. It's just inexplicable for any team to make, but especially a Nick Saban coach team. And defense.
And then you add that, speaking of the defense for Alabama, how do you let Hyatt get through 5 touchdown catches?
5 touchdowns. Yeah, I mean, he's not Michael Crabtree.
No. He's a nice player, but you're Alabama. I think I told you this off air. I think Texas gave a defensive game plan on how to attack Alabama that coaches can look at, a blueprint. And now Tennessee's given an offensive game plan for how you beat Alabama, especially for a Georgia and even an Ole Miss. They're going to see that, and they're going to say to themselves, this is how we can beat Alabama, and it's a very realistic thing. Alabama's still, though, in the driver's seat of the West. They do have to play Ole Miss. I cannot wait till this Tennessee-Georgia matchup. When is that matchup?
Yeah.
Do you know?
I don't. Let me see.
November 5th. November 5th.
Man.
Woo! God.
It is at Georgia. I wish it was in Knoxville at Neyland Stadium, but man, yeah, big time.
Yeah, it's just going to be fantastic.
That should be interesting too, even the week before that.
No, Tennessee's got plenty of work to do. I mean, we're not going to crown them yet or anything, but I kind of hope they beat Kentucky so we get a big time matchup. I mean, it was a great weekend to be a college football fan. It was great to get a win for OU. I know you were happy for Texas to continue to stay on the win streak. So I can't, again, Oklahoma couldn't get a bye week at a better time, but we'll be back midweek to talk Texas get you ready for a Texas-Oklahoma State matchup. And hopefully we get another great weekend of college football next weekend.
I'm looking forward to it, man.
Boomer.
Hook 'em.